fully decode the hieroglyphics. Entry over 1,000 years after the revelation of the Qur'an that
There we go.
mankind has been able to fully decode the hieroglyphics. When you hear the word Pharaoh, what comes into your mind? Most
Hello?
people think of the supreme ruler of Egypt. This is correct, but the word did not
Okay, we're
always
on
refer
my...
to the supreme ruler. Ancient Egyptian history is divided into different periods. The word Pharaoh, Egyptian Perah, had different meanings depending on the period of Egyptian history. Historically, the word Pharaoh only started being used as a title for the supreme ruler much later in Egyptian history, during the New Kingdom period. Before this, the word meant great house and was used to refer to the royal palace. The Encyclopedia Britannica states, Pharaoh, originally the royal palace in ancient Egypt. The word came to be used for the Egyptian king under the New Kingdom. Let's now analyze the Qur'an's accounts about Egypt in
Okay.
light of these historical facts. Like the Bible, the Qur'an discusses the prophets Joseph and Moses, who both spent time in Egypt. Joseph is dated by scholars to either the Middle Kingdom or Second Intermediate period, well before Pharaoh meant ruler. In the story of Joseph, the Qur'an repeatedly uses the word king to refer to the ruler of Egypt. He is never once called Pharaoh. Moses is dated by scholars to the New Kingdom period. In the story of Moses, the Qur'an repeatedly calls the ruler Pharaoh. He is never called king. We can see that the Qur'an is accurate in its use of language when it comes to describing the leader of Egypt at different periods in its history. How could the author of the Qur'an have known this? The only source of information about ancient Egypt that would have been readily available are the Bible-based stories. To claim that the Qur'an copied from the Bible is problematic because the Bible uses the word Pharaoh to refer to the
Oh,
Egyptian ruler in the story of Joseph, which is historically inaccurate. The Qur'an cannot have copied from
so they used the wrong word. Why does this matter?
the Bible because the Qur'an corrects the Bible. The Bible explicitly states that at the time of the Exodus, the Israelite men were vast in number. The Israelites journeyed from Ramesses to Sukkoth. There were about 600,000 men on foot, besides women and children. If we factor in the women and children, then the total number of Israelites would realistically be in the millions. This claim of a vast nation is problematic in light of other information that the Bible provides.
But what
Firstly,
does this have to do
Pharaoh
with
is
what
said
the
to have
ideas of the
appointed two
Quran?
midwives to deliver and murder Israelite babies. The king of Egypt said to the Hebrew midwives, whose names were Shiphrah and Puah, when you are helping the Hebrew women during childbirth on the delivery stool, if you see that the baby is a boy, kill him.
Oh.
Two midwives would only be sufficient for such a task if the Israelites were small in number and giving birth to a
Do
manageable
you guys
number
like
of
when I watch
babies.
videos or when I just
Two
talk?
midwives would not be sufficient for a vast nation of millions. Secondly, the Bible tells us that after the Exodus, God informed Israel that they would not be granted the land of their enemies straight away. But I will not drive them out in a single year, or second intermediate period, well before Pharaoh meant ruler. In the story of Joseph, the Qur'an repeatedly uses the word king to refer to the ruler of Egypt. He is never once called Pharaoh. Moses is dated by scholars to the New Kingdom period. In the story of Moses, the Qur'an repeatedly
What the frick happened?
takes possession of the land. Note the reason for the Israelites being denied immediate possession of the land.
But this
If
is
we
what
say
honestly, what is this saying? Like, all I care about is what I'm going to do tomorrow. All I care about is what I'm going to do tomorrow. What am I going to do tomorrow? How should I act tomorrow? How should I
that wild animals will overpower them. Such
Am I muted? How am I muted? Sorry, chat. GG's. Frick, shut up.
a statement only makes sense if the Israelites were small in number and not a vast nation of millions, as the Bible claims. By contrast, the Qur'an states that the Israelites were only a small band at the time of Moses.
فأرسل فرعون في المدائن حاشرين إن هؤلاء لشرذمة قليلون.
We can see that the Qur'an fixes the contradictions that are present in the biblical narrative. The Qur'an states that the punishment of crucifixion was used in ancient Egypt from the time of Moses all the way back to the time of Joseph. Now, the word crucifixion typically brings to mind the Roman cross. However, in antiquity, there were different forms of crucifixion. Professor of Archaeology.
Guys, today I'm realizing I have not fully shared my entire beliefs. I have not shared what my beliefs actually are because it involves something very complex. It involves something from the ground.
David Chapman wrote, "In studying the ancient world, the scholar is wise not to differentiate too rigidly the categories of crucifixion, impalement, and suspension. Hence, any study of crucifixion conceptions in antiquity must grapple with the broader context of the wide variety of penal suspension of human beings. The Arabic words translated as crucified in the Quranic verses all contain the root word solaba. Arabic dictionaries state that this root carries a number of meanings, including to harden or stiffen and to extract oily matter from bones. This word does not only mean death by being hung on a Roman cross. Rather, it indicates any method of execution which makes the body hardened or stiffened and results in the leaking of bodily fluids. So, impalement, suspension, and the Roman cross are all included without making any distinction. Archaeological evidence shows that the ancient Egyptians used to crucify people by impalement on a stake. The following entry is taken from an Egyptian-German dictionary of hieroglyphics. Note the hieroglyph which depicts an impaled man. This is a punishment that was used throughout the different periods of ancient Egypt. The Abbot Papyrus is dated to the New Kingdom period. It mentions an oath that includes impalement. He took an oath on pain of being beaten and of being impaled. The earliest evidence for crucifixion by impalement is Papyrus Bulak 18, which is dated to the early...
Guys, I see y'all are telling me to join the stream. Oh! Ifet, we enjoy it when you peacefully watch stuff too, G. Your reactions are very precious to us and we witness your journey. Take your time praying for you. Ifet, thank you so much for the super chat, making this stream possible. Thank you so much. I cannot thank you enough, Ifet. Do you guys like watching me watch these videos? It's really hard for me to pay attention, honestly.
Period. It states, a bloodbath had...
Because I just can't figure out what this has to do with my life. That's the only thing I care about. How do I act in life? What principles do I follow? And I think this is just proving that the Quran is true, but I would rather just watch a video.
With wood. The
Jonas
was put on the stake.
Novus, thank you for providing this video. I just don't know how it really applies to me. Can you help me understand why?
During the New Kingdom
Stop,
period,
Justice. How we doing?
At least as far back as the Second Intermediate Period. These time periods cover both Moses and Joseph, which shows that the Quran is historically accurate. As well as
I guess this is all trying to prove that the Quran is historically accurate. And to be honest, I don't care if the Quran is historically accurate or not. All I care about are the ideas that are in the Quran. What ideas? How does it tell me how to live? How does it tell me how to live? I know the Quran says to ward off evil with good. That's something I care about, because when I go hang out with my friends later today, maybe someone brings up something, maybe someone starts speaking evil in the room, or someone's, is gossiping, and it's hurting someone, and I can tell. And I would want to ward that off with good, because that's an actual thing I can do. But if I learn about the Pharaoh and why the Pharaoh was written in the Quran, I can't even remember what I just watched, because I keep thinking, how does this apply to me?